Picture this. You've just stepped onto your very first cruise ship. The excitement is overwhelming, the possibilities seem endless, and you're ready to have the vacation of a lifetime. But within 24 hours, you've already made 3 costly mistakes that could have been easily avoided. One's going to hit your wallet hard, another might ruin your first formal night, and the third? Well, let's just say it involves the ship's plumbing system and a very unhappy housekeeping crew. I've been on over 40 cruises, and I've seen first-timers make the same mistakes over and over again. The good news? Every single one of these mistakes is completely preventable once you know what to watch out for. Today, we're covering the 10 most common first-time cruise mistakes that can turn your dream vacation into a frustrating experience. Stick around because some of these might surprise you. And trust me, you don't want to learn these lessons the hard way. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you want more insider cruise tips that'll save you money and headaches on your next sailing. The embarkation day buffet rush. Let me start with something that happens to almost every first-timer. You board the ship, you're starving because you've been traveling all day, and that massive buffet looks like paradise. So you join the crowd of 3,000 other passengers who had the exact same idea. What follows is pure chaos. Lines that don't move, no available tables, families with carry-on luggage blocking the aisles, and food that's been sitting out getting cold. I remember my third cruise, watching a family of 5 spend their entire first afternoon trying to get lunch at the buffet. The kids were melting down, the parents were stressed, and by the time they finally got food, the sail-away party was over. They missed that magical moment when the ship leaves port. Something you can only experience once per cruise. Here's what seasoned cruisers know. Skip the embarkation buffet madness entirely. Most ships have their main dining room open for a quieter sit-down lunch with better food and actual service. The waitstaff is less rushed, the food is fresher, and you can actually enjoy your meal without feeling like you're in a cafeteria food fight. The pool grill usually has burgers and hot dogs ready to go with 0 wait time. Room service is often available immediately after boarding. Some ships even offer discounted specialty dining on the first day. I once got into the steakhouse for half price simply because I asked at the specialty restaurant desk while everyone else was fighting over pasta salad. The buffet will be there all week, available practically 24/7. But your sanity on day 1? Once that's gone, it's hard to get back. Take the path less traveled and thank yourself later. The shore excursion sticker, shock. Nothing quite prepares you for that moment when you see shore excursion prices for the first time. $89 for a beach break that includes a 20-minute bus ride to a public beach you could walk to for free. $149 for a cultural tour. That's really just a stop at 3 tourist shops with 15 minutes at each location. $119 for a culinary experience that turns out to be lunch at a restaurant you could have found on your own for $30. I remember my first cruise. I booked everything through the ship because I thought it was safer and more convenient. Then, watched my credit card statement in horror. 4 excursions for 2 people cost more than the cruise itself. That's when I learned one of the most valuable lessons in cruising. The ship's excursions are often the least efficient way to explore ports. Don't get me wrong, ship excursions have their place. If you're going somewhere remote or potentially challenging, like Glacier Bay, ports in Alaska, or certain locations in Mexico where transportation infrastructure is limited, the ship's tours offer peace of mind and guaranteed timing. If you have mobility concerns, the ship's tours are usually better equipped to accommodate various needs. But for most Caribbean and Mediterranean ports, you're paying a massive premium for convenience you might not even need. The dangerous port you were warned about? Half the time it's perfectly safe, and the locals are friendlier than the tour guides rushing you through their scripted presentations. Do your homework before you sail, research each port, check out local tour companies with good reviews on TripAdvisor or Viator, or simply explore on your own if the port is walkable. Many popular cruise ports are designed with cruise passengers in mind. There are taxis, local buses, and walking tours available right at the port. Formal night fashion disasters. Formal night. The evening that separates the prepared from the panicked. Every cruise has at least one formal night, sometimes 2 on longer sailings, and first-timers consistently underestimate what this means. The confusion is understandable. What exactly does formal mean in 2024? Are we talking black tie formal or business formal? The answer varies by cruise line, But here's the general rule. Think wedding guest, not beach vacation. For men, that's slacks, not shorts, dress shirt, not t-shirt, and preferably a jacket. A tie doesn't hurt and definitely won't be out of place, but it's not always required. Jeans might be acceptable on some cruise lines if they're dark and paired with a nice shirt, but don't count on it. Sneakers are generally not acceptable, but dress shoes don't have to be uncomfortable. There are plenty of comfortable dress shoe options that won't kill your feet. For women, it's cocktail dress or equivalent. Think wedding guest, not nightclub. A nice blouse and dress pants work too. You don't need an evening gown unless you want to wear one. The key is looking put together and elegant. Here's what nobody tells you. You don't have to participate if you don't want to. The buffet stays open, room service is available, and usually the pool grill keeps serving. You won't starve, and you won't miss out on anything essential. The drink package math mistake. The unlimited beverage package seems like a no-brainer, right? Unlimited. Drinks for one flat fee? What could go wrong? Well, plenty, if you don't run the numbers first. I've watched first-timers buy drink packages and then barely consume enough to break even, essentially paying premium prices for 3 drinks spread over 7 days. Here's how to actually evaluate whether you need a beverage package. Most cruise drink packages cost between $50–70 per person per day, sometimes more on luxury lines. Individual drinks range from $8–15 each, with specialty cocktails and premium spirits at the higher end. That means you need to consume roughly 4–6 drinks per day just to break even. And I'm talking about alcoholic drinks. Sodas, coffee, and water don't usually justify the cost on their own. Be brutally honest with yourself about your actual drinking habits. If you typically have a glass of wine with dinner and maybe 1 cocktail by the pool, you're probably not a beverage package candidate. You'd spend maybe $60–80 for the entire week buying drinks individually, versus $350–490 for the package. But if you enjoy multiple drinks throughout the day, mimosas at breakfast, cocktails by the pool, wine with lunch, more cocktails before dinner, wine with dinner, and nightcaps at the bar, then the package makes sense. Also, remember that beverage packages are per person. If only 1 person in your cabin drinks alcohol, you might still have to buy packages for everyone depending on the cruise line's policy. Here's a strategy many cruisers don't consider. You can often add beverage packages after boarding if you realize you're drinking more than expected. The cabin location blindness. Location, location, location. It matters just as much on a cruise ship as it does in real estate. First-timers often book the cheapest available cabin without considering where it's actually located, then spend the week dealing with the consequences. I learned this lesson on my second cruise when I booked a cabin directly below the pool deck, to save money. Every morning at 6 a.m., the crew started moving deck chairs around, which sounded like a construction site above my head. Every evening, live music from the pool party went until midnight. I got maybe 4 hours of quiet sleep per night and spent the entire cruise exhausted. On another cruise, I made the mistake of booking a cabin near the elevator bank. The constant ding-ding-ding of elevator arrivals, plus the chatter of people waiting and the mechanical noise of the elevator machinery, made it impossible to relax in the cabin during the day or get a good night's sleep. Here's your crash course. In cabin location strategy, avoid cabins directly below high traffic areas like pools, the buffet, sports courts, or nightclubs. The Lido deck, where the buffet is located, sees heavy foot traffic from early morning until late night. Cabins below the theater might deal with sound from shows and late-night entertainment. Steer clear of cabins near elevators, unless you enjoy the constant noise and foot traffic. The mechanical rooms that house elevator equipment can be surprisingly noisy. Similarly, avoid cabins near stairwells, especially the main staircases that connect all decks. Cabins at the very front, forward, or back, aft, of the ship experience more motion in rough seas. If you're concerned about seasickness, midship cabins are your friend. They're closer to the ship's center of gravity and feel more stable. The best locations are usually midship, away from public areas, on decks that aren't sandwiched between 2 busy venues. Deck 8 might seem great until you realize it's between the pool deck above and the main theater below. And here's a pro tip. Once you're on the ship, if your cabin location is problematic and the ship isn't full, guest services can sometimes move you. The specialty dining timing error. Most first-timers fall into 2 camps. They either ignore specialty restaurants entirely thinking they're not worth the cost, or they wait until the last minute to make reservations and find everything booked. Both approaches are mistakes that can seriously impact your cruise experience. Specialty restaurants on cruise ships have gotten really good. We're talking about food that rivals what you'd pay $50 to $100 per person for on land, often for half that price at sea. But popular restaurants, especially steakhouses and Italian restaurants, fill up fast. Sea day dinners are particularly competitive because everyone's on the ship with nothing else to do. Here's the smart approach. Make your specialty dining reservations as soon as you can access them, usually online before your cruise or immediately upon boarding. Most cruise lines open reservations 90 days before sailing for suite guests, 60 days for loyalty members, and 30 days for everyone else. Take advantage of your window. Then, if your plans change or you decide you don't want to go, you can cancel. Most cruise lines allow cancellations up to 24 hours before your reservation without penalty. Also, consider timing strategically. Sea day dinners are the hardest to get because everyone's on the ship. Port day dinners are easier to book because some passengers are still on excursions or exploring the port late into the evening. The seasickness underestimation. I don't get seasick. Famous last words I've heard from countless first-time cruisers who then spent their vacation horizontal in their cabin, missing port days and feeling miserable. Modern cruise ships are incredibly stable compared to smaller boats, with advanced stabilization systems that minimize motion. But they're still floating on an ocean that doesn't always cooperate. Seasickness can hit anyone, even experienced sailors, and it's not something you want to tough out during your expensive vacation. I've seen people miss entire cruise days because they were too nauseous to get out of bed, essentially losing hundreds of dollars in vacation value. The good news is that seasickness is completely preventable with a little preparation and the right approach. Seasickness medication works, but timing is crucial. Dramamine, Bonine, or prescription scopolamine patches from your doctor all work effectively, but they work best when you start taking them before you feel symptoms. Once you're already nauseous, and your inner ear is confused, it's much harder to get ahead of the problem. Start taking motion sickness medication the night before boarding or first thing in the morning on embarkation day. Don't wait to see if you need it. By then, you're fighting an uphill battle. The medications are inexpensive and have minimal side effects for most people. If you're particularly worried about seasickness, book a cabin in the middle of the ship on a lower deck. The motion is less pronounced there because you're closer to the ship's center of gravity. Higher decks and cabins toward the front or back of the ship experience more movement. The tipping confusion. Cruise ship tipping. Practices confuse almost every first-timer, and the conflicting information floating around online doesn't help. You'll hear everything from tipping is completely optional to you must tip in cash on the last day to it's all automatically taken care of and you don't need to think about it. Here's the straightforward truth without the confusion. Most cruise lines automatically add daily gratuities to your onboard account, usually around $12 to $15 per person per day on mainstream lines, sometimes more on luxury lines. This covers your cabin steward, dining room waitstaff, and other service personnel who work behind the scenes to make your cruise comfortable. These automatic gratuities are adjustable. You can increase them if you've received exceptional service, or decrease them if you've had problems, by visiting the guest services desk. You can also remove them entirely if you prefer to tip in cash directly to staff members, though this requires more effort and planning on your part. Beyond the automatic gratuities, additional tipping is appreciated, but not required. For specialty restaurants, spa services, and bars, gratuity is often automatically added to the bill, usually 18–20%. Check your receipt before adding more. You might be double tipping without realizing it. The key is not to stress about tipping. The overpacking trap. First-time cruisers pack like they're moving to a remote island for a month with no access to civilization. I've seen people struggle with 3 massive suitcases for a 7-day cruise, then realize they wore maybe half of what they brought and never touched entire categories of clothing they thought they'd need. Cruise ship cabins aren't tiny, but they're not walk-in closets either. Most cabins have one decent-sized closet, some drawer space, and limited room for open suitcases. Here's what actually matters for cruise packing. You need clothes for daytime, casual, comfortable, evening, smart casual for most nights, formal for formal nights, and whatever activities you're planning: workout clothes, swimwear, excursion gear. Most cruise lines have laundry services, though they're pricey at around 3-5 Oz per item, and some have self-service laundromats where you can do a load for $3-4. The biggest overpacking mistake? Bringing too many shoes. Shoes take up enormous amounts of luggage space and weight. The second biggest mistake is bringing too many just-in-case items. Remember that you can buy things on the ship or in ports if you forget something essential. The Wi-Fi reality check. This might be the most expensive mistake first-timers make, and it's entirely avoidable with proper expectations. Cruise ship internet is notoriously slow and expensive. We're talking $20 to $30 per day for speeds that would have been frustrating in 2005, with data caps that make streaming impossible and video calls a joke. Yet first-timers consistently buy internet packages thinking they'll stay connected exactly like they do at home, then get frustrated when web pages take forever to load, emails won't send, and social media posts fail to upload. Most ports have free Wi-Fi in cafes, restaurants, or public areas if you need to check in briefly with the outside world. Your cell phone might also work normally in port depending on your carrier and international plan, often for much less than the ship's internet charges. The best approach? Tell people you'll be offline, set up an out-of-office message, and embrace the digital detox. Your vacation will be more relaxing and memorable for it. The bottom line. Look, everyone makes mistakes on their first cruise. I certainly did. Probably half of these mistakes, if I'm being honest. The key is learning from other people's experiences instead of making every mistake yourself and paying the price in money, time, and vacation enjoyment. These 10 mistakes are completely avoidable once you know what to watch out for, and avoiding them will make your first cruise experience infinitely better. But don't let the possibility of mistakes stress you out or make you overplan every detail. The most important thing is to stay flexible, keep a sense of humor, and remember that even if something goes wrong, you're still on vacation in some pretty amazing places. The worst cruise day is still better than the best day at the office, as they say. If this video helped you feel more prepared and confident about your first cruise, give it a like and subscribe for more insider cruise tips and honest advice. Trust me, we're just getting started with the secrets that can make your cruise experience amazing instead of just okay. Happy cruising, and may your first cruise be the first of many incredible adventures at sea.